Yeah, I'll react to that, sure.
Okay. Hi, guys. My name is Connor, if you are new. Preemptive like. The EU made simple. Original link to his video, top of the description. Right below that, link to the Discord. Click on it. Love to have you. Pull up a chair. Don't be shy. The German military will become Europe's most powerful. Here is why. Yeah, so France is probably going to be the most powerful military in Europe. You got the UK. I don't think Turkey's that small of a military either. Yeah, but Japan and Germany were, have had limitations since the Second World War, for good reason. Less good of a reason as we're generations removed from the World War II. But I know, for instance, Japan can't build its own aircraft carrier, although they have kind of smaller helicopter carriers that could be transformed into it, I guess. But if those were lifted, I think the Japanese and the German militaries would skyrocket in the world rankings, and certainly I think overcome France.
Fighter jets and helicopters that don't fly, standard issue assault rifles that don't shoot straight, and shortages in ammunition, boots, and even underwear during a NATO mission in Lithuania. These are the headlines that the once feared German military are currently making. Not to mention the hundreds of millions of euros that went to consultants in an effort to clean up the army's mess, with very little to show for it.
Yep, that one's Ursula von der Leyen, former Minister of Defense.
German high-ranking officials are raising their concerns, and so are NATO allies, where statements such as these are...
Why are the Germans only terrible at war when they are on our side? They were stuck with a bunch of noobs in World War I and II.
Not uncommon. Ever since the Cold War ended in 1991, Germany has allowed its military to deteriorate. And this is somewhat understandable, as Germany was busy integrating the West with the East, which posed great economic and social challenges. Over the last 30 years, there was simply very little incentive to have a powerful military, as Germany doesn't share a border with potential aggressors like Russia. NATO, and especially the US, was there for protection, and unlike the US and the UK, Germany had very few overseas commitments, and there was very little appetite for a large military among the population, who still remember the horrors of World War II. But now, overnight, everything has changed. Only 3 days after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the German Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, made a shocking announcement, declaring that Germany will massively increase its defense spending and meet the 2% NATO benchmark. This was met by applause in Parliament, and surveys already show that 75% of Germans support this decision. But how significant is this increase? Let's have a look at defense spending across the globe last year in 2021. As you can see, Germany spent $52.8 billion, sitting at
8.4%. Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia is not exactly a poor, maybe GDP, but so they, how, 50s, wow. Oh, sorry.
Seventh. Okay. As you can see, Germany spent $52.8 billion, sitting at 7th in the world ranking list, slightly ahead of France, but significantly behind the UK and Russia. But if we compare percentage of GDP, Germany ranks much lower. Of the 20 biggest military spenders, Germany comes in 15th, as they only spend
Israel, yeah, for sure. Saudi Arabia.
Of the 20 biggest military spenders, Germany comes in 15th, as they only spend 1.4% of their GDP on their army. Many have criticized this lack of spending, as it is far below the NATO target of 2%. However, once Germany hits the 2% target, things will look very different. Because of Germany's strong economy, military expenditure would rise to $76.12 billion.
Jesus, Trump.
Putting Germany into 3rd place, ahead of Russia and the UK, making them the frontrunner within the EU and Europe by quite some distance. And German politicians have said as much, clearly stating that this is the intent. And it doesn't stop here. In an effort to modernize the military more quickly, Olaf Scholz has also dedicated a one-time special fund of over 100 billion euros to German defense. This is a lot of money, But spend doesn't necessarily equal military might. The UK, France, and Russia are still far ahead when it comes to military strength. Here we can see the comparison between these nations.
Yeah, but...
While Germany...
But...
Military strength.
But... Of course. I mean, this says a lot about Germany that they're not even more behind because of the restrictions on the military, right? Like, any Germans here, or do you believe if there wasn't, if like the military restrictions, like anything hangover from World War II, were lifted, would it immediately, or anyone from Japan watching, probably a little less likely, probably, like, is that what is keeping you from going even from spending more and having a better military, or would you not do it even if they were lifted?
Strength. Here we can see the comparison between these nations. While Germany does have a significant number of soldiers, aircraft, and tanks, it only has a very small presence on the sea.
Jesus Christ, Russia! Over 12,000 tanks.
France and the UK do have a considerable navy, with multiple destroyers, submarines, and even 3 aircraft carriers in between them. And well, then there's Russia, who just has a lot of everything. As for nuclear weapons, in the aftermath of World War II, it was agreed that Germany cannot possess nuclear, biological, or chemical weapons. However, this comparison is somewhat incomplete and flawed, as it does not take into account military modernization.
Can I say something? So, to keep me from going like, oh, that's ridiculous, lift the restrictions, you can't forget about what happened in World War I and World War II. But the fact that, I mean, the problem with, Germany getting back up and punching back even harder the second time around, the Second World War, I'm not saying they started the First World War. I'm not saying they did. I know that's among big debate. Who started World War I exactly. But World War II, obviously, Germany was the aggressor. And the problem was that they rearmed even more than they were in World War I within a generation. And so there was still a generation of people who remember the First World War and still had giant animus, or giant, a lot of animosity. And so the risk of another war, which eventually happened, was high. But we are we're a whole Cold War away from that. We're many generations away from that. And so the threat just isn't really there anymore.
Nuclear weapons. In the aftermath of World War II, it was agreed that Germany cannot possess nuclear, biological, or chemical weapons. However, this comparison is somewhat incomplete and flawed, as it does not take into account military modernization, high-tech weapons, logistics, military experience, and intelligence. Whether Germany will become a military superpower also depends on how the money is spent. Scholz has already hinted at a high-level tech wish list, such as the F-35 fighter to replace older Tornado aircraft from the 1970s, the Future Combat Air System, which is developing together with France, heavy transport helicopters, modernization of air defense missile systems, armed drones, modern warships, etc.
How big are these things?
Missile systems.
Oh, there's a guy right there. It's like a dragon. You can like ride it or... That'd be pretty cool if instead of the ADD, I'm talking about nonsense, but instead of the missiles, you like attach a person like to the bottom of it. And I mean, it seems tall enough that it can still land without crushing the person, and you could just like fly under the drone,
Armed drones, modern warships, etc. However, as mentioned at the start of the video, Germany still seems to be getting the basics wrong. Only around 40% of helicopters and 65% of tanks are operational. And it gets even worse.
I mean, why?
A recent German parliamentary report found that only 50% of major military hardware is working properly.
Okay, but that can't be because of incompetence. I mean, Germany is amazing at building machinery. That's like what they're known for. So there has to be a reason they're not operating. It's not like it's Russia or like Belarus or something like it. There has to be some other reason than incompetence.
Therefore, money needs to be spent in getting existing equipment up and running first. And as you may remember from the start of the video, the German Bundeswehr has the reputation of wasting taxpayers' money. So, will Germany become the new European superpower? Possibly, but not until Germany cleans up its current mess and invests the new budget wisely. But next to the world's superpowers, such as the US and China, even with Germany's new budget, it remains a small player, as it spends way too little. And this really raises the question, does an EU army make sense? Check out the videos below to see the reasons for and against an EU army. And if you enjoy the content, please subscribe and like the video. I'm a very new channel, and this will really help me grow.
Sure thing. Cool video. I even alt clicked.
With an aggressive Russia.
Oh, are they the same video? Anyways, yeah, cool. Cool. Thanks, guys, for watching. Hope you enjoyed or can teach me something. Did I have any questions? Other than just flying on a drone? That'd be cool, though. See you guys.